Hi everyone, I'm Paul with MadCap Software here to talk about what is brand new in this release of MadCap Flare Online for early May of 2025. And you should already spot one of the big changes, and that is Flare Online. Yes, I said it. We have changed the name of the product from Central to Flare Online, so you're going to notice changes there. And I'm going to talk about that. The other thing I'm going to talk about is a huge change in the authoring space in Flare Online, and that has to do with collaborative authoring. So two or more authors working, editing a topic or a snippet all at the same time, can see what everybody else is doing. Really cool, really huge change for us. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about each of those. Now, why the name change? Why are we going from Central to Flare Online? Well, if you look at the history of Central, again, I've said this has been out for several years now. Started out, yes, you could put your Flare projects up there and you could host output and do many other project management tasks up there, such as creating teams and tasks, things like that. But over time, the authoring capabilities have grown so much up there that it really just made sense to make this name change, because this really is a cloud-based version of Flare, not identical to the desktop version, but you can really do the most essential things up there. So the name change made sense. So the Flare that you've known for years and years, you can think of that, this legacy Flare, as Flare Desktop. So we have Flare Desktop, we have Flare Online. You don't have to have both, but the thing is, when you do have Flare Desktop, and then you also have a subscription to Flare Online, a whole world opens up to you. So by having Flare Online, you're really expanding the capabilities that you have as a Flare author. So let's talk about what's different with this rename. Well, it's mostly about the design. The colors in here are a little bit different. You're now going to see this new Flare Online logo in place of the old Central logo that you used to see. But otherwise, this is mostly all the same. It's just going to look a little different now when you launch it. You might also notice some text changes, of course, when you go in. For example, let's just go in here to translations and click on this. And yeah, you look down places like this, you're going to see Flare Online account instead of Central account. So it's little things like that. But again, it's all the great things that this product has to offer. It's just a new name and a new look for it. Now, the evolution of Central to Flare Online and all of the more robust authoring functionality that's up there now, that brings up some questions, such as, do I need Flare Online if I've got Flare Desktop? No, not necessarily. Can I have Flare Online and not use Flare Desktop? Yeah, possibly. Is there a reason why I would need both? Absolutely. That's me. I need both Flare Desktop and Flare Online. So what I've done is I've created a separate video, which I'll put a link in the YouTube description, and there's also a link at the very end of this video. You can watch that, and I go through this. I talk about the similarities between Flare Online and Flare Desktop, what they have in common, and then the things that that are unique to each one of them, why you might want only one or the other, or why you might need both. So Flare Online offers collaborative authoring, meaning multiple people can be working on the same topic or snippet all at the same time, seeing what everybody else is doing, which is really, really useful. So I have Flare Online open here. I'm going to open up this project, and if you look across the top, you're going to see all the tabs, and we've got this workspace tab. I'm going to click on that, and that gives me access to all of the files in this project. I'm on my master branch, and that's the only branch I have. I'm just going to work in there. Now, just a couple of things to point out before we get into actual editing is up here at the top, you've got this plus button. So I could add a new file in here, a new topic or something. And I could also upload files from another place. And then over here on the left where I've got my file tree, of course, I can expand and collapse and get to any files that I want. I've got this filter here, which is also useful. So I could go in and just narrow this down on the types of files that I want to see in this file tree. And I could also limit it to uncommitted files as opposed to all the files in here. This button right here opens up this workspace area right here, and we're going to come back to this. So right now, this workspace area is empty, but you're going to see this populate as we start working. I am going to open up this topic right here, Introduction, and I can just click in here and start typing. So I am logged in right here as myself, but on another monitor, I am logged in separately as another user named Lloyd Dobler. So you're going to see my changes and Lloyd's also. So, but because I only have two hands and one keyboard right in front of me, I can only act as one person at a time. But you can see as I just clicked there and pressed enter, and I'm just going to write change from me right here. And then I'm going to come over onto my other monitor where I'm logged in as Lloyd, and I'm going to type change from Lloyd right in there. And you can imagine if lots of people were logged in and working on this topic, everybody would see the indicators and the typing from everyone else. And you're also going to see over here on the right, this workspace area right here, and this tells you what is currently going on. We've got 2 users in here right now and 33 edits. Don't let that number 33 throw you, because we're just talking about as minor as just a simple click or typing in the keyboard, a single a character in there. But that tells you that work is going on in here. Also over on the left, you can see next to the introduction file, you get this little circle here, and that's an indicator letting you know, hey, there's changes going on in here that haven't been committed yet. So work is going on. And if I had work going on, if people were working in lots of files, you'd see lots of circles over here. Now, I am going to switch over to being Lloyd again over here, and I'm going to open up a different topic, and Lloyd didn't commit his changes. So you don't have to commit before you leave. You can, go to another file and start making changes if you want. You can then come back to the previous topic at any point. So I'm just going to type something in this one. And as I was doing that on the other monitor, you can see that, all right, we got this circle right here. So you can see somebody's working in this one right here. Another thing to point out is as you're doing this, look up here above the toolbar where you can, of course, add all these different things, change the heading and insert links and bullets and all this stuff, work with AI, insert images. Those are all pretty self-explanatory. And but above that, you see this is my avatar, and I've got a little status indicator here that means that I'm working in here. And also we see this one, this is Lloyd right here, and you can see that he's also been working in this file. Now, if I come back as Lloyd and click in here, so I clicked on this other monitor that little indicator changes. It's a ... which means Lloyd has returned to this topic and he's actively typing in here. Now, because I am logged in as myself right here, I also get this little drop down, and I can select whether I'm in progress or I'm ready to commit this. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. But this is another area where you get to see kind of what's going on in this topic. Right. Now, I said we were going to come back to this button right here. This is the one that takes us back to the overview. And you can see, all right, there's a little circle up there, and that means that there's stuff going on. So if I click on this, whereas before this was empty, all right, now I'm seeing some stuff. And if it were empty, then that little circle would go away. So you can see what's going on. Well, two files, two topics have been worked on here, and you can see who's working on them and the status of them. And so we got the introduction topic, we got the music one. They're both in progress. None of them have been marked ready to commit yet or have been committed. So this is just a nice view to see overall what's going on in this project. Now I'm going to go back as Lloyd onto my other monitor, and this music topic that he's been working in, I'm going to go ahead and click that commit button, and I am going to be done with that topic as Lloyd. So now in my workspace overview here, that row goes away because once something is committed, it's no longer in the workspace. You've committed it to the repository. Let's have Lloyd make changes in a couple of other topics. All right, so I opened up two different topics, and you can see that's what's happening. Though now this has changed again. We've got three topics that are being worked on, and of course you see the indicators over here on the left. Now, as myself, I'm going to go back to this topic that I've been working on, and maybe I decide, all right, I'm done with my changes. I am ready to commit this to the repository. So I click on commit. Now I can just put my message in here and continue, but you get this warning in here. So there are these safeguards that happen in Flare Online that prevent you from kind of stepping on the toes of other people. And so this is telling me, hey, there's other people who are working on this file. And if I commit my change, I'm not just committing my change, but I'm committing Lloyd's changes too. So it's telling me, hey, you might consider selecting ready to commit instead of actually just committing this. So you probably want to do that, or at least communicate with the other authors, because if I were to just say, I don't care, and I'm going to put in my message and click commit, well, that's pretty rude. That's what we call in this industry being a big jerk. And you don't want that, because then people will see you and they'll say, oh, look, there goes the big jerk who just committed my changes and I wasn't ready. So I'm going to cancel out of that. And I can come to here, and instead of committing, I can select this, ready to commit. And notice that my little indicator changes to a check mark. That is a clue to other authors that, hey, that person is good with me committing their changes if everyone is done. And you will also see this here in this view. So this is the topic, and you can see I'm done, but of course, Lloyd is still working on it. All right, so maybe I look and see, oh, I need to make changes in these same topics that Lloyd's in. I'm going to go in here, and there's the little change that Lloyd made. He just wrote his name, and I'm just going to type down here and type me, and I'm going to come down to South by Southwest. Same thing. I'll just type me right there. And if I come back to the overview, well, now I am in both of these as well. So this thing just dynamically changes all the time, keeps it current. Now, maybe Lloyd finishes his work in all three of these as well. So as Lloyd, I'm going to go back onto this other monitor, and in each of these, I'm going to say that I'm ready to commit. So now looking at the overview, again, you see these check marks next to Lloyd. So I know that, hey, I'm good with this topic, and so is Lloyd. He actually didn't need to set it as ready to commit. He could have just committed the changes because that was done. But I'm the only one working in these two. So if I'm done, I could go ahead and commit. So I'm going to go back to this introduction topic and see, there's the check marks again, and I'm going to commit this, and I'm just going to type a real easy little edits message in there and click commit. So now my indicator is gone from here, and it's gone also in the workspace overview. Want to show you something else. Look over here on the right. This is, again, this is the workspace. What's going on at the moment in this topic? Well, nothing's going on. Nobody's clicked in here. So it's down to 0 edits, 0 users. The repository is the state, is the most recent commit to the repository. So, and that's what we're looking at right here. And you can see I just committed it, and those were the number of edits, the number of users and everything. But I can also click on Show History and expand this and see, all right, this is where everything started with this topic, the collaboration. This is going to grow over time. File is committed more and more times. The history is just going to grow in here, but the most recent one is right here. So let me make another change in here. So there is the action in the workspace, and I get my commit button again, and I will commit this. I'll just type change in there and click commit. So it's grown. Now we've got this down here in my history, and this one is the new version in the repository, what I have right there. Now, what I did in this most recent version was all I did was type another change. What if changes are made and you decide, oh, that's wrong. I want to go back to an earlier version. Well, it's real easy. You can go into any of these versions here and you can click on them and it'll change over here. Now you're looking at that commit in the history. And if I click on that one, you can see it change slightly. Now there's my another change text right there. That's what I had before. So this and this are the same. But maybe I decide I don't want that text, another change, and I go back to the previous commit, and it's as easy as this. I just click this revert button right here, and it's going to tell me that, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going to revert back to that, click revert, and now that's gone. This is still what I had before because I haven't committed it. Notice that this commit button is enabled. So if I click commit, and I'm just going to type revert right there, reverted back to the previous one there. So this is the reverted version. And now this is the most recent one in the repository. And if I go back and go back to here, there's my change again. So you can see how you can easily go back and forth as necessary. Now let's go back one more time to this workspace overview. You not only have the option of committing files one at a time when you're in there, but you can also come into here in the overview, and if everything is good and everyone has the check marks in here, other than, I'm right here, so I don't have to go through the step of saying ready to commit. I'm the only one left. I could go ahead and I could commit multiple files at the same time. So I could just click on that. And if I had a whole bunch in here, maybe I want to click a whole bunch and then deselect some. So maybe I'm committing a lot of them, but not all of them, whatever. And then I can come in to here, click commit, and I'm just going to say lots of edits, whatever, and click commit. And now this thing is empty once more. So just a few more things to mention. Just by the nature of this feature, collaborative authoring, you can see how it's easy to avoid conflicts with other users because you're all seeing what each other is doing, and you have those safeguards and you have the indicators for the status of everyone. So that's really nice because nobody likes to encounter conflicts, and so that is a huge reason to take advantage of this. That's much better than editing blind, and then if you commit and then the other person loses their changes, nobody wants that. So Flare Online handles things that otherwise could be problematic conflicts. And so this can happen even when you have people authoring some in Flare Online and some in Flare Desktop. So for example, I've got this topic open here, attractions, and I'm logged in as myself. But let's say that down on Flare Desktop, Lloyd Dobler is logged in. and he has the same topic open. So let's say that Lloyd decides he's going to change this top heading right in here. I'm just going to have him add his name, and he saves. Well, at the same time, I'm working up here in Flare Online, and I decide, let's say I'm going to change this heading right there. Okay, so we're working in the same topic, and we've both made changes. And down in the desktop, Lloyd decides, all right, I'm done. He clicks here, and he commits his change. And he also sees, all right, I've got to sync this. So he does that. So in doing this, he has pushed his changes up to Flare Online. So back in Flare Online, I'm still working in this topic, and I decide, all right, it's time to commit. I click here, and I added my message, and I click commit, and I get this message, and it says, hey, the commit's canceled because there have been external commits that have come in here, and my status is going to be in progress on these merged files. So what it wants me to do is take a look at these changes that have come in externally first before I commit my changes. So I click dismiss. Once I do that, look what happens. I see his change right here. So I look through the topic and I go, oh, okay, I'm good with that. Or maybe I want to make a change. And I'm just going to type that right there. So I click commit. And now it's going to allow it to go through. So I'm done here. And then even back in the desktop, Lloyd still only has his change right here. But as soon as he does a sync or a pull, which he can do from here, and once it finishes, you can see he also has these changes and this change right here. So that's what you're going to get when you're working in Flare Online. However, I do want to point out that it is still possible to encounter conflicts with your projects. And that's especially if you are making use of branching, so which I do. Again, I only have this one branch in here, master, but usually I have lots of branches. And if you don't know anything about branching, I would really encourage you to explore it. I've got lots of videos on that on our MadCap software website. And so the thing is, when you're working with branches, you still at times need to merge changes from one branch to another. Okay, so now you've moved past this collaborative authoring and you're somewhat blind again because you don't know what these changes are in one branch or another, and you're merging from one to another. And if there are conflicts, it's going to show you, and you have to deal with those. Now, what if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, hey, there are times when I want to keep other authors out of these files that I'm working on. I don't want anybody in there. Well, up in Flare Online, anybody can go in, and if you have the authoring status and the permissions to edit files, anybody can go in and do this. So what I would recommend in that case is have your project bound to Flare Desktop. And so in Flare Desktop, just create your own branch and just tell other people don't work in that branch. And that's a way for you to avoid having other people get in and work on the same files that you're working on. There are more details to this feature. I didn't get into absolutely every little corner of it, but that is the basics of it. That is the main stuff you're going to need to know. So if you want more details, just go into the help system and check it all out. But those are the things that are brand new for this release of MadCap. Again, once again, I got to keep reminding myself to say Flare Online instead of Central. That's what's new. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.